Welcome, everybody. I am super excited to have Kymbrye from Albuquerque, New Mexico here. I love this because I get to meet people all over the globe, and I just love connecting with other eXp agents. I can't wait to kind of dive into your story. We don't really know each other that well, so yeah, let's just dive in and tell me how you got into eXp. You can even back it up into real estate if you want.
Okay.
And yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so I was a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years with both of my kiddos. My youngest was about a year old when I was like, you know what? COVID hit. It was boring. I was trapped at home. I needed something that I could do that would kind of get me out of the house and something that was super flexible that I didn't have like 9 to 5, didn't need a daycare, babysitter all the time. So I
The
looked into
boss.
real estate. And I had honestly always had an interest in real estate. In high school, I wanted to be an interior designer for a while, and I did some like CAD courses to learn how to be like more engineering, but none of it really ever stuck with me. So when I decided to get my license, honestly, it was kind of a huge change from what I had been doing even prior to kids. I did sports reporting. So
Oh, cool.
I was never a salesperson, never very good at sales, never really wanted to do sales. Um, so when I got my license, I was like, fingers crossed I'm good at this, and
Yeah.
we'll see. Joined a team, and they were here at eXp. So I got into eXp right away as soon as I got a license. And eventually, when I left the team and went kind of solo, I realized that, real estate isn't really sales. It is technically, but for me, it was way more about connecting with people and being able to solve problems and meet needs of people.
Yeah.
And, that's truly been the base of my business. And eXp has made it so easy to do it the way that I want to do it. So
Yeah.
that's how I
I
got
know
here.
building relationships is like really the foundation of real estate. And so when people get into real estate and think it's this big, quick, get rich quick fix or
Oh,
whatever, it's just like you will get sniffed out a mile away and you will not
mhm.
be successful in this if you're just out for the money. It drives
Oh,
me crazy to
yes.
see, people getting into real estate just for that reason. It's because of people like you and I who really truly want to make a difference in people's lives that allows us to, make an impact in people and their future and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, totally. And I have had friends and even family members in the real estate industry, and I've seen some of them thrive because they have that mindset of how can I be of service? And I've seen some of them fail because they were like, where's my next paycheck? When do I get my next
Yeah,
deal? And there's enough to go around for all of us. It's really not competition for me. So I think that makes such a big difference.
for sure. Now, when it comes to like when you first got into real estate, you said that you had joined a team.
Mhm.
How do you feel that helped you kind of go on your way to solo agent? I know that a lot of agents kind of want to start on a team and kind of migrate out onto their own because they need that support and that mentorship. I know
Yeah.
when I first got into real estate, you're just thrown into the fire. I did not join, like, there was no teams or anything with my previous brokerage. So it was just kind of like, go figure it out.
Yeah,
Um,
you're drinking from a water hose no matter what you do, really. But for me, I had joined a team because my brother-in-law had just gotten licensed and he was on the team. And I honestly didn't know anything about eXp. I was about to sign with a different brokerage, and he was like, wait, 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 before you do that, like at least come and meet with the team leaders and see what you think. Weirdest interview of my life. I have never like interviewed an employer before. It was very weird getting into that, like, I get to decide mindset. But,
yeah.
I mean, the team was not what I anticipated. The two team leads were very productive. There was some other people on the team who were doing their best to be productive, but I just think some people start a team thinking they can pour into others and all good
They're too
intentions,
busy.
and it just doesn't work out quite that way. And there just wasn't the right chemistry for me. I wound up actually getting kicked off the team. So I was very crushed by that because, I really wanted the support and, you know, community of a team, and eXp being a cloud-based brokerage, I was like, well, now I have no one. What do I do? Where do I go? Who do I call if I need help? Like, what happens? And it was probably 2 months into being solo that I connected with our state broker, and he had just become our state broker right when I got kicked off the team. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel like I know anything. I think I'm going to leave real estate. And he was like, before you do that, let me sit down with you and let me help you understand eXp, because it doesn't seem like you understand it. And I don't think you've given it a fair try. So we sat down. We had like an hour and a half long phone call. And he was like, you can stay or go, whatever you want to do. I'm here. But I think that you haven't fully experienced what there is at eXp, and I would love to see you try. So I was like, okay, I'll give it like 6 more months. We'll see what happens. And I, just with that support alone, was able to truly kind of get my feet wet in real estate. So I think people joining a team, the biggest advice I can offer is ask to shadow for like a week and see how the team works and what resources do they have and how are they going to be pouring into you and your business, and not just worrying about their own business or, trying to figure things out. Because running a team and helping others is a lot of
It's
responsibility.
a
Like,
full-time
I
job in
thought about
itself.
starting a team, and I was like, ooh, maybe not. I need to think that through first. So it's
Yeah.
just a huge difference, really. But for me, solo has always kind of been the right fit. And here in New Mexico, all the eXp people, we're a really close-knit community. We're constantly in communication. So I think that makes a huge difference too, is just finding your people, especially when you're at a brokerage that's cloud-based, and really like making the effort to have those relationships with clients, but also with your real estate team. Because you don't have to be on a formal team to have people supporting you.
Yeah. And I think too, with like some of the really successful teams with eXp, those team leaders have kind of done their time in the spotlight, done their time with buyers and sellers, have got all they're fully equipped. And now they're equipping their agents to go out into the field and do the hard
Yes.
work, right? So I think a lot of times, like the team leads and stuff, if they're out of production, it's a lot easier for the team members to be able to take as much in from them because they're there and willing and ready to help them, right? And so, because I even find, like, I have an organization of 10 and we are not a team. Everybody is solo, individual. And I love pouring into them, but even I get busy and I feel almost guilty that I'm not pouring into
Oh yeah.
them more, right? So it's
Oh yeah.
hard to, but that's what I love about it, is we are all aligned in so many different, like so many different ways, that it is a win-win situation for everybody. There's so much support. And that's what I was most concerned about when I first came or was considering coming over. It was literally a 24-hour turnaround by me learning EXP and moving. It was a crazy, like I had decided in 24 hours and I was over in, I think, 48 hours. It was
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. We're
But,
happy to have you.
and what, so where do you see yourself kind of evolving with eXp now that you've been here long enough to kind of understand the platform and all of the avenues of income and all like the perks and stuff like that? Kind of where do you see yourself evolving with the company and kind of where you're headed?
No, yeah. For me, I basically, as soon as I was off the team, I was on the hunt for community and almost a reason to stay because, again, I really didn't understand all that eXp had to offer. And like you said, like now being 4 years into it and 4 years licensed, I've done the production stuff. I'm currently in production. I got certified as a mentor about a year and a half ago. That was really heavy on my heart to be able to pour into newer agents coming to eXp or just new in general, because I had such a like bumpy start. I wanted to make sure that I could at least give someone support and, you know, a sense of
Yeah.
understanding. And that's been so fulfilling. Just the opportunity to get to do that with my brokerage and know that eXp is right there behind me to make sure it goes well. It's not all on me to keep
Yeah.
them, but it's a really cool opportunity to be a positive influence. Um, I also joined the Young Professionals. I became the New Mexico state leader. After about 2 years of that, I was the vice chair of the Young Professionals for a year and now currently a board member. We just got a new board structure there, so it's been kind of chaotic for a few months,
Yeah.
but we're settling into it. It's been great. And then a good friend of mine who I met through the Young Professionals, we actually met in person at eXpCon, and we're both moms and we're both younger in real estate. And we were like, you know what? There's not a lot of like parent support in real estate, just in general, not just eXp, but we want to be able to build this community of parents who, you know, they've got kids, but they're doing real estate. How can we balance those things?
Yeah.
So we started a group. It's not a formal resource group yet, but that's one of our goals, eXp Nest. And
Oh,
we absolutely would love to have you check it out. We do calls every
yeah.
Monday. It's just a really cool little group. We just started a couple weeks ago, so we're brand new.
Nice.
But really, my goal is always obviously to, you know, double my production next year, do a little better, but
Yep.
also just really be a resource and an asset to my brokerage because eXp provides so many tools, so many resources. It's almost exhausting thinking about it because
Yeah.
like you said, you know, you really never know what you're going to be able to offer people or what they'll connect with. eXp
Yep.
is like, here's everything ever.
Yeah.
Cover the
Here's
board.
the hose now,
But
you
just
know?
attach to the hose and you'll be fine. But
Yeah.
it's just been really empowering to see how much the little person at eXp can be highlighted and brought to the front and celebrated. That's one of the biggest things for me is just continuing to find my moments in the sun, but also be able to provide that opportunity to others within the brokerage because there's so many incredible people at eXp. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah, there's so many amazing agents and there's so many people with so much potential that sometimes it just takes that one agent saying, you can do this or like try it and see. And then like I know for me, I have a community on school that I'm building, which I'll send you an invite to. And it's called It's Time to Wow 'em. And it's all based on like how can you create an experience for your buyers and your sellers and even the realtors that are involved in the transactions with your buyers and sellers. How can you create something that's not just a transaction, that's something that's a memorable experience? And it's so good that they, number one, they want to use you over again, no
Yeah.
question, but then they want to tell everybody that they know that they have to use you because you are the best. And I
Yeah.
think that just helping realtors realize it is hard and it is financially straining because for some reason realtors don't talk about that really.
No.
And it is a huge financial commitment. There are big financial commitments and everything comes at an expense when you're in business for yourself. And though EXP is great, they don't pay for everything.
Right.
They give us amazing tools and resources to use, but when it comes to funding our business, that is on us, right?
Yeah.
So helping realtors just to kind of learn how you can build on a foundation of repeat and referral customers. And in my opinion, it's a smarter way of doing business. Instead of going out and being exhausted trying to find the next person and the next person, why not hone in and foster that relationship that you have with that buyer or that seller, and then do such a good job for them that they know it was genuine, and that, then they are sold on wanting to use you again, and then wanting to tell everybody that they know. I had a call a couple of months ago, well, several months ago at this point, but from a woman, and she was like, "You sold my son a couple of houses, and he told me that I'm not supposed to use anybody but you." And like, such a compliment to me, right?
Yes.
She was an hour and a half from me, and normally I wouldn't be jumping at opportunities an hour and a half from me, but because that is a client who respects me and, values me, of course I'm going to go and jump heaps and bounds, or whatever that saying is, to service that client, because
Yeah.
they have that trust in you. And if you're getting calls like that every month or whatever, you're going to have a very thriving business if you
Right.
just focus on the experience at hand and systematize it so that it's congruent every single time. So you're not kind of sporadic and you're like, oh, I should maybe do this when for me, when I have a buyer or a seller kind of commit to working with me, I put together this box and I call it the Life Just Got Better box. And usually I pack it full of stuff that they love. And the reason why I know those things is because I ask them, and they
Right.
don't usually remember it, but it's their favorites, their 20 favorite like list. And so I'll just pack this box full of like their favorite chocolate bars and whatever. But then at the same time, if something goes sideways during the deal, and there's some major potholes that we're going through, I can refer to that list and go, okay, they love the keg. I'm just going to send them out for dinner tonight because it's been a rough go. And although it's not expected and you don't have to do stuff like that, they
Right.
will remember how you were trying to be proactive in that, and come up with a solution and try to make things as seamless as possible, even when it maybe is a little bit rocky.
Yeah.
They're going to remember the fact that you showed up with wine, or you showed up with a gift card and told them to go out for dinner. They're going to remember that over that issue that they were dealing with, hopefully.
Right. No, I love that. And that, I've had the pleasure of working with some incredible agents on the other side. And I've had the displeasure of working with some very stubborn people. But at the end of the day, for me, I always write a thank you card to everyone in the transaction: buyer, seller, listing broker. If I'm not the listing broker, buying broker, if I'm not the buyer broker, their broker, their brokerage office, if it's not eXp, title, lender, everybody, because
Yeah.
we all put so much into it. And sometimes it's such a thankless job. And
Yeah.
sometimes people from the outside, like you said, don't realize what a financial and energy and time suck it is to be in real estate. And that's not a complaint by any means, because I
It's just
willingly
the
got into
reality.
it. It's just what we do. But like having people kind of see, I saw you, and I always try and mention something specific that they did well, or that made my job easier, or that I appreciated. You answered the phone with a really great energy every time. And
Yeah.
to me, even when I had an issue or a problem and you answered your phone positive, that kind of like, that took it away.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can handle this. We've got this. It's like, it's
Yeah.
re-energizing. So, and I've had people who were mean the entire time.
Yeah.
And then I write this thank you card, and
Vultures.
I've had them call me in tears and be like, I was so awful to you for no reason, but and I'm like, you know what? We
It's
all
okay.
have those times. I'm
Yeah.
not taking it personal. This is real estate. So,
Yeah.
that's really where it's at.
And that's one of the first calls that I did inside my community was the power of a handwritten note. And there is so much power behind a thoughtful, authentic handwritten note, because People don't do that anymore. People think it's a waste of time. I know, for example, my husband, he's like, I don't know why you do these birthday cards. It's so stupid. And it's like, but it's not, because it makes a difference. And after 10 years, they kind of expect it at this point. But you know what I mean? They enjoy getting things like that. And I usually put a little $2 scratch ticket in it. I'm banking on someday someone's going to win the $35,000 prize.
And
Um,
tell ya and buy you something nice.
right? But it is, and it makes us as the people who are writing the notes stand out, and we are really like shifting the service industry, because I don't think anyone who receives a handwritten note doesn't feel good after they read it or received it. I think it's always well received. And but it's also very um what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, it's not common anymore. Like,
No.
the only things you get in the mail are flyers and bills. Like, you don't get those thoughtful handwritten notes anymore. So I think it's so good that you do that, because and acknowledging everybody in the transaction. How many, I know you guys call it title or whatever, but like for us with the lawyers, I assume it's the same thing, the mortgage people and the lawyers and all that, like how often they do probably thousands of transactions in a year, thousands, I'm sure. And I can't imagine, they could probably count on one or two hands how many cards that they get,
No,
right?
and that's part of how I even established such a great relationship with the title office that I use is she was one of the people that I always tell people she's a shark, she's a bulldog, and she's not going to quit till she, the transaction's done. But, when we did our first deal together, I represented the buyer. She was working with the seller. She had a friendship with them in advance. And she, I was brand new in real estate. So I, called with questions and was like, I think this is what's going on. Or lender said, this is your fault. And she would get so mad. And we would just kind of like bicker at each other on the phone. And at the end of it, I wrote her a letter saying, like, you've put so many years of your life into doing a good job. You are seen and appreciated, and whether or not we get along as people, I think you're phenomenal, and I'm grateful for people like you in this industry. She was one of the people that literally called me in tears and was like, come to my office on Monday, sit down with me, like, I want to work together. How can we make this happen in the future? And we sat down and, we actually found out she went to high school with my mom, which was kind of funny.
Oh, cool.
She was like, I keep seeing this picture of you in your email signature and you look so familiar, but can't put my finger on it. I went to school with a girl that looked just like you. And I'm like, oh, is it Ollie? And she was like, yes. And I'm like, that's my mom. So, small world, and I've tried to use her as often as I can now. And she's always willing to work with me to sponsor events or, help me print flyers. She always does so much because I wrote one thank you card. I didn't even put a Starbucks card or anything in it. It was just a handwritten note to say thank you. And she was like, I will keep it on my desk forever and ever, because that doesn't happen very often, aside from sometimes clients are grateful, but even then sometimes they're not, or sometimes they don't really know how to show it or whatever. So it's been a huge impact, and it's something that, brings me so much joy to do. And it's such an easy thing, takes 5 minutes. But like you said, it makes such a difference in this industry to truly be genuine and authentic and kind and do the little things that other people aren't.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how you stand out, and that's how you become an industry leader, because you're doing things against the grain. As everyone's going this way, you're going this way, because you're like, no, I am not like everybody else. Like, I am willing, like for me, for example, with eXp, I was with Exit Realty. eXp did not exist in our community. It was non-existent. And I was like, I need to get this here somehow. I actually had to leave my board, go to a neighboring board, leave my board and go to a neighboring board just to get on with eXp. which was an hour and a bit away. And then I had to accumulate enough agents to be able to open it up in my community and to open it up on our local board, which I was like, what do I need to do? Because this needs to happen. And I don't know how many agents we have on our board now for with eXp, but we have several. And sometimes you just have to be that person to just decide, like, I need to do this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, and I saw a TikTok the other day of a realtor saying, if you're the listing broker, anytime someone schedules a showing on your listing, send them a thank you text. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to show my listing. Please let me know if you have questions, what other information you need. I'm here for you. Have a great day. And somebody commented and was like, this reeks of desperation. You're just trying to get an offer. And she was like, no, because I don't really care if they offer or they don't. I just want that person to know I see that they are busy in their career, in their industry, and they're taking time to service a client's need to see this home. And, my seller's going to be happy to have a showing. Even if it doesn't result in an offer, it's good feedback. And if we're nice to each other, we probably would close more deals together, So, and then that's how people remember you and want to work with you in the future. And they can,
or vice versa.
Like, yes. And, I've had clients say, I had a difficult realtor write an offer on a property, and I mentioned to the seller about how they had made another transaction just horrific. They were non-responsive. They were very slow. Their paperwork was sloppy. And I was like, but, here's their offer. Just wanted to explain, because it was a messy offer. And my sellers were like, well, to be honest, if you don't like them or it's not going to be easy for you, you're doing all the work. So, we have other offers to consider, but I don't really want to work with someone who isn't a good person to work with. And, that makes a difference. So,
I've even had buyers say, we'll pass on this house. It's so-and-so's listing. We want nothing to do with them. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, what if this is the one? And they're like, nope, don't want anything to do with that particular agent. And it was like, if you feel that strongly about an agent, that poor agent needs to be making some changes because they're hindering not just their reputation, but their potential clients' reputations too. Like,
well, in this industry, it doesn't take very much time or energy to be nice and do the right thing. But for some reason, people struggle with it. So
and even going back to like when you have a property listed, I've actually formulated this really cool thing. And I don't know if you've seen my boards training, but I do like when I get a listing, I gather every detail that I can possibly gather on this property. And it's usually painful for my sellers because they're like, you really need this? Like, I don't have it. I'm like, but you need to find it. Pull your hydro bills, pull your gas bills, pull everything, because if we can have it in a beautifully packaged, if we can package it beautifully together and give the buyers and their realtor access to this, not only does it give the buying agent, like, it makes their life easier because we literally answer all the buyers' questions with this package. So we're not bombarded with a million questions. Everything is transparent out in the open. And I just find that it makes the transaction like, and we actually wean out people who are like, well, it's a great house, but the hydro costs are just too much and we wouldn't be able to make it work. Well, I'm glad that we provided that information, because otherwise they would have wasted their time going to the house. The sellers would have cleaned the house up for them to come and then have, potential anticipation that maybe we do have interested buyers, when there's something about it that had they known prior to, they wouldn't have even bothered to come.
Oh yeah. Well, and just even that little bit makes a difference for your sellers too, because like you said, you're getting qualified buyers who are actually interested in the whole picture and not just what they saw online or what they walked through that day. They really want the whole thing. And it's a big responsibility to own a house and not have somebody to do everything for you, like at an apartment complex. but it makes a difference for your sellers when you can provide them those buyers on a platter to choose from, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Is your market in multiple offers at all still, or hi?
Um, yes and no. You say hi.
Hi.
Yes
My
and
daughter would be
no. We
listening.
have pockets of that are highly desirable, and then we have some areas that things just kind of sit for a while. And I think that also is another thing that makes a big difference is knowing how to market, knowing who you're marketing to. And really, I try my best to help buyers and sellers understand the pocket that we're in and not
Mhm.
the whole city. Because
Yeah.
I think, a lot of brokers were like, well, the average days on market in Albuquerque as a whole is like 76 or something. And for this
Like
tiny neighborhood,
neighborhood.
it's 13. And things are
Yeah.
moving quick. So we don't have time to do this or that your way. We have to do it this way. And it just it makes a big difference to educate your clients up front and even educate other brokers up front what to expect, what's going to happen, and how quickly it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've never had a hard time with things sitting on the market for a long time because we price things appropriately and we market them aggressively. And
Yeah.
I have a little like Google form that I send out to my sellers right before we do photos or anything. That's basically any kind of marketing I can possibly think of that we would ever do for the house. What do they want? And then what's realistic for me to do? Because, I've
Mhm.
had land sellers who were like, I want photos and drone videos and walkthrough tours and all this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to, like, a walkthrough of land isn't really that helpful, but we'll
Yeah.
do the drone and the photos or whatever. But it's kind of nice. And I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback about it from clients that they felt like they had more control over what was happening and how it was happening.
And they had to say.
Yes, and that's all they really want is to know what's going on and to have a say in it because it's not my house. I don't live there, so
And at the end
yeah.
of the day, they're paying the commission, and I think that's what it comes down to is
Oh, yeah.
they are technically paying us so that they wanna know that, the things that they're expecting are happening, right? And if they
Right.
don't get asked, they feel as though there's like a lack or like an absence of value there, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and just that communication, and I think that's one of the things that I love so much about eXp right now is as we go through these changes as an industry, eXp has been super transparent about what to expect, what we still have control over, how to say certain things, what we need to get from people. I mean, the toolkits that they put online for all of
Yeah.
us to access, and then even just like the templates on Canva now, being able to see how other people are doing their listing presentation and even just gathering ideas to make mine better or more in depth or less in depth because maybe it was a little too much or
Yeah.
it's just one of those little things that exp does that truly sets them apart and gives us as agents and brokers a chance to really understand our industry and not just say, like, we're not just talking the talk. We can actually
Yeah.
walk the walk too.
For sure, which is why all the copycat brokerages probably won't make it or won't be as successful because they want to copy our model, but then they take a few things out that
Right.
they want to keep for themselves or whatever, which is why it won't ever be the same as EXP. And that's the one thing I really love about EXP is like the luxury division and the commercial division, all these divisions. I have no interest in commercial, but I am part of the luxury division. And it just helps to set the bar a little bit higher for us all. And so I know when I'm sitting down with somebody who would be considered a luxury listing, being able to show them like, here is, what I'm able to offer you in addition to this, what I normally offer, they're really taken back and going like, wow, our property is going to be featured in the Wall Street Journal and all of these, international publications. And it's very
Right.
impressive from the seller standpoint and saying, well, I don't think any of the other agents that I interviewed is able to do this.
Right.
Right.
Right. Well,
So
and
they're
I've
giving us so
even
many tools.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and I've even gone as far as like printing flyers to put in coffee shops for land in tiny little areas around Albuquerque. And I've had sellers say like I never would have thought to do that. And I'm like, it's just
Mhm.
one little thing I can do and it may or may not do anything, but it's getting eyes on your property and those eyes are attached to a head with a mouth and that mouth can tell other people. And you really
Yeah.
never know like where or how you're going to find the right buyer for your place, whether it's land or commercial or residential or luxury. And EXP truly does think big picture. What can we do to make it easy on us as agents and brokers
Mhm.
versus how can they make the biggest buck off of us?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really impactful
Exactly.
to see that.
That's what I love is the agent ownership with eXp is like
Yes.
really at the end of the day, we are the owners of the company and they, in a sense, work for us kind
Right.
of in a way, right? Like
Yes.
we are like the reason why they're in business. If it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be in business. So putting us at the forefront of everything is only going to benefit them in the long run for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it gives us as agents and brokers a sense of accountability, knowing that we can hold our company accountable for what they say they're going to do. And
Yeah.
same for us. They're watching us and they're making sure we have what we need to do what we say we're going to do. And
Hmm.
that's such a difference. I mean, I know people who are at other brokerages and I remember touring a couple brokerages and they were like, and you could use this desk or any of the desks anytime you want. And you can use the printer up to 200 pages a month. And you could do this and that. And I was like, I have a really nice printer at home and I have a desk at home and I have a cell phone and I have a car and I can do all
Yeah.
those things myself. I don't really need you for it, but is that the biggest draw you have? And
Yeah.
and they're like, you may share the desk with other people. And I'm like, well, I don't share it with anyone at home. So I
Yeah.
don't know. That's not as enticing as you may think. And I know people who love those brokerages and say they'll never leave, but I think it's a
At
matter of time.
at what cost? I
Right.
always say at what cost? Like how much are you willing to pay to have that? I don't know. To me,
Yep.
it's silly to stay somewhere just because you're loyal to your broker.
Right.
I don't
Well,
know.
and I've had friends that were at EXP leave EXP and beforehand say, like, I'm leaving for this reason or that reason, and I don't want our friendship to suffer. And I'm like, well, we're not friends because we're at EXP. We're friends because we're friends. And
Yeah.
if you ever come back, I'll be excited. And if you don't, I'm still going to be rooting for you in real estate
Yeah.
because I don't, I'm not brokerage blind. I see it
Yeah.
all. But I've also seen people who are loyal to their brokerage, and I'm like, it's really not benefiting you anymore. And now, is it really a mutually beneficial relationship? Because they're making money off of you needing them, and you don't really need them. They need
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah, exactly.
I
Actually,
think
I
that's
had a conversation with another agent in another interview about this, and I think a lot of time it comes down to pride. And maybe because they've had a number of people maybe say to them, like, you should really look at, and it's for their best interest. It's not
right.
because we're trying to hurt them in any way. It's I want to see you benefit in all the ways that you can. And if I'm seeing you sacrificing your time with your family and your financial future because of your broker, like I want to see you be successful. I don't want to see you say 10 years from now, I wish I would have.
Right.
So I'm trying to bring that to light now because, as I've said before, like the only regret I have is just not coming over sooner.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I guess.
I think that's such a common thing that I hear at EXP is once people join, their biggest regret is not doing it sooner.
Mhm.
And for me, it's like really looking at the big picture of my business. Like my state broker here, who's brokered by EXP, He doesn't pay my bills. He doesn't drive my kids to school. He's not taking care of my dog when it's sick, you know? So it's all on me. And eXp has a ton of resources like extend a hand for if there's a hardship. But at the end of the day, whichever brokerage you're at, you're going to face challenges. Are
Yeah.
you surviving in real estate or are you thriving in real estate? And what is your brokerage doing to contribute to either of those things? And a lot of people are surviving in real estate, paying huge brokerage fees and franchise fees and all these extra little sneaky hidden things that it adds up. And even the $85 a month, I am a discount shopper. I love a deal. I love a bargain. So I tease my broker because now we pay the state tax on it. And I tease him that, you know, that extra $5 is a big deal. And he'll tease me back like, girl, you know, you'd be paying twice that anywhere else. I'm like, you're right. Okay. It is a deal still. But at the end of the day, what are you truly getting from your brokerage that's giving your career life? Because not very many brokerages are as hands-on and as genuinely caring as eXp proves to be.
Yeah. And there's so many stories, and I'm just going to get, I'm sure, just a little fraction of the stories from yourself and other agents who I get to chat with, but it's such a blessing. And I love being able to just share others' stories because everybody who knows me knows my story. And so being able to talk to other agents and, expose their stories, it just makes it even more real. It's like I'm not the only success happy agent at eXp. We have literally like 80,000+ agents that are very happy and thriving at our brokerage. And no, eXp is not for everybody.
Right.
You have to look at what it is that you want out of real estate. Do you like, there are other brokerages that are cheaper, but it's what you want out of a brokerage. And so
Right.
I'm just grateful for eXp. I'm grateful that 4 years ago I was open-minded because I had I joke about this all the time, but I'm surprised I did not get my last brokerage tattooed on me somewhere because that's how loyal I was. Like, I'm very glad that I never did, but you never know. And you just have to keep open-minded because you could miss out on a lot of opportunities that God is presenting to you just by being, not open-minded to it. So
Oh yeah. Well, and you know, I've had a lot of different people from other brokerages reach out and say like, let's get coffee, let's meet up. I'd love to tell you about this brokerage or that. I'm always willing to listen to your spiel, but you're going to listen to mine too because mine
yeah,
might be better for you. You might be surprised. And
yeah,
you know, I mean, there's a lot to learn from other brokerages too. I think there's things that they're doing well, and I think eXp has done a really phenomenal job of duplicating and or improving on those things. And there's things that they do differently. And like you said, some brokerages take a little bit from eXp and they change it and they try and make it different, but it works so well at eXp that way. Why would you need it differently? So
yeah, exactly.
it's such a unique industry that we are such a community, but also there are so many outliers of people who are like, oh, competition. I can't talk to you because you're who
Yeah,
I'm working against.
yeah,
Not really. We're going to work together at some point. So
right,
we may as well
exactly.
get along whether we're at the same brokerage or not. We may
And
as
for
well.
our clients' sake, at least, because
Yes.
if it's harmonious between us as realtors, that means our clients are also going to win in some way, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. And it's such a fun thing to be able to offer that to my clients is like I've built my entire brand around being your realtor bestie, and I can tell my clients that I have never had a realtor have a bad reaction working with me. I've always left people happy. Even
yeah,
if they were kind of difficult to work with, I've always made sure that things ended well
yeah,
because that benefits everybody, not just me.
yeah. At the end of the day, your reputation is one of the most valuable things that you have. And
Right.
so, why ruin that over one silly deal? Just, you know, get over it and make up and just say, hey, look, I know that wasn't easy, but I just appreciate working with you, and next time it'll be easier.
I agree. No, I
Awesome.
love it.
Well, Kymbrye, thank you so much for hopping on and sharing your story.
Yeah.
I look forward to following you on socials and watching you. Obviously, we're a bit of a world apart, but
Hey,
that's what I love about this is we get to connect with so many people around the world. And I've
yes.
never been to Albuquerque, Mexico, so maybe I will have to come visit you someday and just come
Yes.
check it out.
Come on down. We've got great food and lots of things to do. So we would love to
Because
have
you've had me at great food, so.
That's half the reason I go anywhere to travel. I'm like, ooh, the food looks really good. So yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.